Upgrades.
Hey everybody, this is TeamJVS giving you a quick exclusive movie review on none other than Barbie. Today with me, I got my awesome co-host. Introduce yourself real quick.
Natasha, hey, how you guys?
She also goes by Barbie. And then you got Jorge, goes by Ken. Also,
Yep.
we're just gonna get into character real quick. So, if you've been living under a rock, obviously this movie is coming out. The synopsis of it is Barbie suffers a crisis that leads her to question her world and her existence. And that's it. So we had the honor of watching this, which was, a few days ago, which was pretty awesome, just being able to watch it and then digest it. But I guess initial reactions, Natasha, how do you feel about this movie? Like, what were your initial thoughts going into it and then leaving the theater?
I wasn't sure what to expect. I expected something like silly, like really silly, not taking itself too seriously, and just having like just a fun movie, over the top. And in a lot of ways, it was. But there was also a serious to it. There were layers to it. There was actual a plot. There was an actual plot, and it had resonance, which I wasn't really expecting. So it was actually a pleasant surprise. So I can't wait to discuss it just a little bit more, but I'm not spoiling too much, of course.
Okay, no, that's awesome. Yeah, and I think for me, I genuinely had no expectations going into this movie. But I will say, coming out of it, like, I truly appreciated it, and I thought it was very well done. And it's weird to even like say like, oh yeah, that Barbie movie was very well done, and it had like really neat adult themes. I thought, like, for girls and women to like just kind of understanding, and for me who never played with Barbies, like, kind of gave me a really cool glimpse into like how impactful Barbies really were to people, and how, like, I don't want to say pivotal it was, but just kind of showing how, with Barbies, there's a Barbie for everything. And I never in my mind would have thought, oh, like a little girl's gonna look at this and be like, oh, I can be a doctor, or I can be an astronaut. And it was just really neat, just kind of seeing that. But we can dive, kind of more into those crazier part, or not crazy, but just more serious parts of the movies. I guess first and foremost, how did you like the way that this movie was shot? Because I thought the way it was shot was very unique, but I really appreciated it. So, but want to get your thoughts on that.
I thought Barbie Land was awesome. Like, I want to be in Barbie Land, okay? And me growing up playing Barbies, it was one of those things where, unfortunately, I didn't get the house. I had to use my imagination, okay? So like with the car, everything was in my imagination, even though I had, it was always in the stores. I was limited to outfits. So I was a little jealous, I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, it was just nice to see that live in action and just how they function in Barbie Land, and how it kind of correlates to how they correlated the real world into this, as far as like what they were doing, how they kind of manifest themselves, or how they just interact on a day-to-day basis. And sometimes it's, the same, but it was kind of also confusing, because it's like there are millions of girls that play Barbies every day, so some of them are going to be playing the same Barbie or the same type of Barbie. So that part kind of confused me. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of like, how does that work exactly?
Yeah, like the one-to-one factor.
The one-to-one factor. But for the purpose of the movie, they had to kind of like focus on one person. So that worked itself out. But that, when you think about it, it is kind of like, how does that work exactly? But the concept of Barbie Land was really cool. And just seeing all the different celebrities be Barbie, especially Issa Rae. Issa Rae, that's my girl. So yeah, I was for it. And even with the Kens, just they were just hilarious to me. And just Ken's story arc, because I didn't have a Ken either. I had to imagine a Ken.
Yeah.
So just seeing what it means to be Ken and how he had to, his journey in this movie, it's like, okay, I can see how that would, why that needed to be done the way that it
Yeah.
did.
I will say, in terms of all the Barbies and all the Kens, at first I was kind of like thrown off because it's like they're literally all named Barbies and they're all named Kens. But the more got it, like the more like the movie kept going, like it just made so much sense. And then what's his name? Michael Cera played, what was it? Alan?
Alan,
Yeah.
like random.
Which like his character was hilarious. And I think that's something that I guess I wasn't expecting, how many kind of little cameos you see throughout this whole movie.
Yeah.
But the amount of laughter that I literally did throughout this movie, like I don't remember the last movie where I was laughing like this. And it's silly because I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's a Barbie movie. And I'm just trying to like remove that wall. But I thought the way, like, the actors that they chose were perfect for the roles,
Perfect.
And I'll even say that with all the Barbies and all the Kens, like everyone
Absolutely.
kind of fit so well. And Alan was that awkward, awkward one.
Nah, Michael Cera was playing Michael Cera as Alan. Like that was pretty much him in this movie, but it was still hilarious to see that because he would just throw some stuff in here and there. You're just like, really? This is
Yeah,
so silly, but so cute at the same time.
so obviously I think we can very much tell, like, I enjoyed the movie, you enjoyed it. Did you have any, I guess, any cons to this movie? Because there were a few that I had, and I'm just trying to see if I'm just being too nitpicky or what. But I want to hear kind of from you, like, what were your thoughts on like the negative parts of this movie?
I think some of the running gags kind of was overplayed, especially with some characters that were kind of introduced kind of in the middle. I'm not trying to spoil it, but we have a Mattel aspect here that kind of played itself out, and I'm kind of like, y'all's purpose kind of don't you don't really need to be
No.
here, because I feel like there was enough stuff going on that y'all didn't need to add to it. Initially I was like, okay, fine, but then it got kind of like got tired
Mm-hmm.
by the end of the movie. I just didn't care. Whereas I actually cared about Barbie, I cared about Ken, I cared about the humans that were directly involved. Even
Yeah.
I cared more about Alan than I cared about what was happening at Mattel.
Yeah.
So that part of it was a con for me. Sometimes the message kind of came across as preachy, or in the back of my mind I was like, some folk ain't gonna like what is being said here, and the way that it was said. But for me, I understood what they were trying to do, what they were trying to say.
Yeah.
There was one speech that was made and I was like, oh man, you speak the truth, but I know that's gonna probably come off like really off for some people that just don't want to see it that way. Because unfortunately, when you think about it, as a woman, as a little girl growing up in this environment and this reality and how it's changed, how it
Yeah.
hasn't changed, it's kind of like, some folk ain't gonna like this. um, so that part, and there was another speech earlier in the movie. I wouldn't say this is a con, but when she was like, yeah, how Barbie has changed and what that meant, and as you grow up, you see kind of like how that's problematic. I was like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, I remember having these thoughts as a little girl. So it was kind of really relatable. So yeah.
Okay. So I think for me, I'm on the same page. I think kind of the Mattel aspect of it. I think that could have literally just been one scene to have that one cameo in there
Mm-hmm.
and just call it a day. And I would have been, because I felt the same. It's like that whole thing, it just kind of, it felt very forced. It was almost like they finished the movie and they were like, oh wait, we should have this person in the movie a little bit more. Let's just sprinkle him in random areas where I think for me, one of the interesting parts is like after they did the whole Mattel thing, it's almost like I almost forgot about them, and then they would just like shove it back in your face for like another scene, and you're like, oh, that's right. What are they doing though? Like, what was the point?
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, but I think we have the same complaints. I did think, yeah, like some of the speeches or dialogues, however you want to. I do agree that some of them, it'll be interesting to see how some people react to them. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
But no, I think for me that was probably the biggest eyesore. One thing that I wish they would have done more is I forgot who the narrator was throughout the movie.
Helen Mirren.
Yes. I almost wish they would have interjected her more, because I think in the middle of it, when they were talking about, like, they kind of freeze the movie and almost do this like fourth dimension thing where they talk about how, like, Margot Robbie is basically like the perfect Barbie, and like even when she tries to be ugly, she was like, she ain't ugly, like just calling her out in it, and in the middle, like just hearing that, it just brought like it almost like resurfaces you where you're like, oh yeah, like that. It, like, I think for me, the casting of this movie was just what stole the show. And it was interesting because it is a movie about Barbie, but it makes you care in a weird way about Ken. And you kind of see this weird dynamic going back and forth, especially once, they go to the real world, and and all sorts of craziness happens when they come back with like the dojo casa home. But man, like it was like, I think those aspects of it are what make this movie so great. That it's things that you're not expecting, that when you're kind of seeing it, it's like, yes, this is and I wouldn't even call this a kid's movie, but it's like, it's a kid movie, but it has these adult like jokes in it that just kind of work. But it's almost like I feel they tried forcing some of it where they didn't need to. Because I think this movie, realistically, it probably could have been like 20 minutes less. Like this probably could have hit that like hour and a half mark and been perfectly fine. But no, I will say the human characters that you were talking about that were kind of more involved in like the Barbie land and things like that. Like I thought even those characters, like at first, it was just kind of like meh, like okay, cool, they're here, whatever. But I did appreciate how near the end you really relate to these characters. I wasn't, and this is just me being nitpicky, wasn't a big fan of the daughter, in a weird way. She could have not been in the movie, and I wouldn't have. It would not have hindered me one bit.
I get where you're coming from, because as it was going on, I'm like, you're still here. But I think it was I understood why, because it was a generational thing, especially when it comes to Barbie and how women over the years have used Barbie, have played with Barbie. So there's like it's a generational thing. So I understood why.
Pass it down. Yep.
Exactly. So and so I understood, but I felt like as soon as it was like after she made like when she said what she said, it was kind of like your purpose kind of disappeared. But I also understood that that there was a relationship aspect related to Barbie, that it's kind of like I understood why she was there, even though at the same time I was kind of like,
there's no point.
after a certain point, it was kind of like if they had talked more, maybe or there was some form of resolution and they had like a talk, then fine. And maybe even something at the end where it was kind of like a throwback.
Yeah.
Or I think I would have appreciated that more.
I think even if it was like a passing on or something, like, hey, these were mine, now they're yours type of, like, it's some type of attachment, I think it would have made it a little bit more. And I think this one, at least for me, it just felt like there were a lot of ideas,
Mm-hmm.
and that saying like less is more really
Yeah.
would have done miracles in this movie. And I'm just gonna say it, like, I'm being extremely hyper nitpicky. Like, this movie was awesome. Like, I will still suggest everyone go watch it. I'm just being super
Yeah.
nitpicky, just with just kind of just thinking it over, because we've had a couple days to kind of like mull it over. And I think those are the realistically like the only bad thing about this movie. And when you think about it, for a Barbie movie, that's not bad. Like,
No, no, absolutely not. So I think about like the other like movies that we've had, like GI Joe, like uh that's the first thing that pops into my mind. I'm sorry. That are toy like, they're
yeah,
based on toy characters. And G.I. Joe is kind of different because you can kind of play that off as far as like a military. But a doll, I was like, how are they going to make this work?
yeah,
And it weirdly works. This movie weirdly works, especially with what's happening today
yeah.
with the themes that they portrayed in this movie. So Greta Gerwig and whoever wrote the screenplay for this, I think in a lot of ways it was smart. And I don't know if we would have appreciated or if something would have been different if they made it back when around the same time as GI Joe or even before
100%.
that. I think it needed to happen now.
I think I think this is the perfect time for it to come
Yeah.
out. But it's I will say the way that Greta kind of went about this, and something that we haven't even talked about, which I'm blown, like the music in this, and I want to say the dance numbers. Oh,
I was okay. The dance numbers, I low key wanted to learn the choreography so I can learn the dance moves. Like if I had known that there was going to be dance numbers and there was some form of preview for that, I would have used that on my little
yeah,
video that I did with
no, yeah,
that
like
too.
it
Um,
it's just so, like, it was so well done, and it wasn't forced. Like the dance numbers, like whenever they came, you look forward to these things.
yeah,
And like throughout the movie, like the score throughout the movie, it's hilarious because I found myself like jamming out sometimes, and I had to almost like kick myself back, and it's like, no, I gotta focus on the movie. Like, focus on the movie. You're jamming out too much. But yeah, I thought, oh, like, and it's just crazy because this is Barbie. Like, I I shouldn't be this excited over Barbie, but here we are. Like, here we are, and it's, yeah. So, what were your thoughts, I guess, on the music and the sound and all that?
yeah, I appreciated the music. I haven't had a chance to listen to the soundtrack, but I will. I want to. Like the desire is there for sure. I like how they were breaking walls throughout this movie, especially with the narrator. Like I do agree that they could have inserted her a little bit more her commentary because when she did do it, it was right on time. And I
Yep.
think they could have use that a little bit more. And plus, it's Helen Mirren. Like, hello, you utilize her to the best of your ability here. Like, not. um,
Yep.
and like you said, the dance car, especially the one later, the shapes that they were making,
Yep.
I was into it. And the thing of this is with Barbie Land and everything that was happening, some of the background stuff that was happening, and you were like noticing it, especially on a certain scene with Ken's. So I was like, the stuff that was happening other than focusing on Ryan Gosling was just as hilarious. I was just like,
Yeah.
this is great.
No, it's 100% agree. I think this is, oddly to say, this is a very rewatchable movie.
Yes.
And it's like, it's one of those where the first time you see it, like, yes, you're basically focusing on Barbie and Ken, the main Barbie and Ken.
Hmm.
But I feel the second time you see this, you're going to be focusing on everything around them, because there's so much, there's just so much always happening on each screen,
Right.
which is like, it's just, it was, I don't want to call this like a huge summer blockbuster yet, but I feel this is going to do so well in the box office.
I hope so. I think it's one of those movies that is a sleeper hit.
Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting to have as much fun as I did with this movie. Um, yes, it's over the top at times, but that kind of what gives it that umph.
Yeah.
So yeah, and this is rare for me because I'm like, just wait till it comes out on streaming, what have you. But I wouldn't mind seeing this if one of my friends was like, "Hey, let's go see Barbie," I'll be like, "Okay, let's go see Barbie," because I will actually pay money to go see this movie.
Yeah.
So that's saying something, okay? At least for me, I'm very selective on the movies that I will want to see again.
Yeah.
If I don't already see it like as part of the screen or something. So it's kind of like, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm 100% with you. I think and it's interesting because I've had, once we posted up on social media that like we went to go see it, I had a couple of my guy friends who I would never think would go watch this, and they literally were like, "Yo, how was it?" Like, I have tickets for Monday, or I have tickets for, and I'm just like, "What?" And in my head, I was like, "What?" So I think it's just this is gonna be, and I think you're right. I think it's gonna be a sleeper hit where, you know, and I think, and I'm probably gonna get bashed for this, and I don't care. I think we've been so used to mediocrity, like when it comes to movies. Like this is the first movie where I came out of it, and even like now I'm like just thinking about it and sitting with it, and I'm just like, yo, this was a great movie. Like I thoroughly enjoyed this because it's like there's been others, DC, some movies, some shows from Marvel that have come out this year where they've been so hyped and you start seeing it and then like you wait a day or two and you're like, oh, like once the hype kind of goes away. And I feel for this one, it's like it's been a couple days and the hype is still there where I'm like, yo, this was good. And I'm like, trying to like mull it over. So it's I don't know. I think I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, and this is very contrasty to how I feel about Indiana Jones. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but I mean, it was
No,
okay, but I enjoyed this way more than I enjoyed Indiana Jones,
yeah.
and that's saying
Same
something.
page. I was like, same page. And I love action movies, like mindless action movies.
Like we
no.
enjoyed Fast X for crying out loud. Like
Yeah, that is very true.
it,
Now,
it's just one of those things.
now let's try to wrap this up because I know obviously we can't like go into spoilers or anything because I think that would be a fun and maybe we'll do that when Sam gets back from
Comic
Comic
Con.
Con. Maybe
Shout
we'll
out
have
to
like
everybody at Comic Con.
yeah, we'll do like a spoiler review just for fun because I would love to pick his brain on this. But I guess closing thoughts, like how do you rank this movie? And like what were some of your like closing thoughts in regards to this movie?
Do you want to do 1 through 10 or like A through F?
Yeah, let's do 1 through 10. Let's
One
let's
through
keep
10.
it simple. Yeah.
I think this is a solid like 8, 8.5. So because of the nitpicky stuff,
Yeah.
but I still really enjoyed a lot more than I'm nitpicky
Yeah.
about. It's kind of like I can overlook the cons because the rest of it was actually really good.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, definitely 8, 8.5.
Okay. And I'm kind of in the same boat. I would put this like 8.5, ugh, maybe even a 9. Like I had that much fun in this stupid movie. I shouldn't be admitting. No, but it's like I truly had so much. And you know what I think it was? The intro to this movie, like that first like
Oh
intro
my
monologue.
gosh.
Yes. Like I think that set the tone where I literally was just like, this is gonna be great. Like, because
Yeah.
that's the type of like comedic humor that I was like, yo, these little girls are going wild in such a
I
great
was
way.
like, yeah, I was like, wow, we doing
Yeah.
this, we doing this, and it's less than 5 minutes in the movie. I thought that was hilarious because it was kind of like, when you think about it, F them babies. Like, it was that was like the first thing that popped into my brain as the things were happening. So I was like, dang.
No, yeah, they definitely were not holding back. Oh man, yeah. But just for that, you know what? You should watch this just for that opening number.
Yes.
That was well worth it. But no, but there you go. So there you have it. So you have 8.5, 8.5, 9 around that. Like, the movie has its flaws. Like, it's not a perfect movie, but the good outweighs the minute nitpickiness, you know. I recommend it. Obviously, Nat recommends it. So I mean, you can't go wrong here, guys or girls, Kens or Barbies, however you want to look at it. But yeah, other than that, always remember to subscribe, like, drop a comment. If you guys saw this movie, let us know what your favorite part was. Let us know who your favorite Ken or Barbie was.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
I would love to hear other people's thoughts on, or who, if Alan was your favorite, because he was awesome.
I just don't know. Like you said, I don't know if this is a little kids movie. Definitely, like, maybe older kids. Definitely like preteen, maybe teen.
I was gonna say teens, yeah.
Definitely, I think could enjoy this movie, but I don't know if, unless it's like one of those things that it really goes over their head. But
yeah,
it's up to you. I would do older kids. That's just me. Even though I'm not a mom, but just from what occurred in the movie, I think as far as them being able to appreciate what was in the movie, I think it would be better for older kids to watch it and not like super young.
No, I agree. I echo that, and I got kids, so I can echo that.
Okay. So you're the expert. So, and I'm sure you were thinking about that as you were watching the movie. I'm like, can I really take? I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, it'll be.
You can enjoy it with your wife. So, like, definitely.
No, yeah, definitely. This would be an awesome date night movie because you will not be disappointed. But anywho, this is Team JVS, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.
Filing out the top of the I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on my timeline. Ain't nothing on my mind. Oh Lord.